its leaders, and every soul that calls Prescott home. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will begin with roll call, please.
Mayor Good.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantelmi.
Here.
Councilwoman Fruworth.
Here.
Councilman Gambogi.
I am here.
Councilman Grady.
Present.
Councilman Montoya.
Here.
And Councilman Moore.
Here.
All are present.
We'll now have a presentation to the Citizens Academy graduates, followed by a presentation and recognition for Prescott Police Department's award of re-accreditation.
The City of Prescott hosts a Citizens Academy to give residents an inside look at their local government and how it affects their daily lives. This opportunity offers a clearer understanding of the city's services and allows for open communication for people to learn and ask questions. Above all else, the Citizens Academy connects people and helps keep the small town feel that many of us have stayed here or moved here for. Thank you to all of our graduates today for taking the time to participate in this wonderful program, and thank you to all of our city staff for making it such a success. We will now ask that our participants line up in the front of the dais and step forward when the Mayor Pro Tem calls your name and receive your certificate. Now, I'm going to read you all out in order so you can come because these certificates are in order. So Charlene Allert, if you're here, why don't you come right up front? Julian Ashurst, Jan Bartlett, Joanne Cole. Nobody's here for that? Let's see, Jamie Cooper, Norma Crooks, Ted Gutierrez, Donna Gutierrez, Mark Jacobs, Sam Noritaki, Melissa Orr, Susan Reynolds, Eileen Tellez, I hope I didn't say that wrong, Tellez, Terry Thomas, and Vanessa, I'm not even going to try that one, or Urioste? Where, did I say, how do you say that? Urioste, okay. Thank you. We also want to mention a few others that were not able to make it, and I can see the weather probably kept a few other people away, but we have Alan Bartlett that should also be, and I do have your certificate if you're listening, Gail Frank, Stacy Frank, J.D. Greenberg, Linda Thomas, and Elena Wright. And we'll go ahead and start off. Okay, now we did skip a few. Who was the first one? What's your name?
Cole.
All right, I'm going to have to go through these real quick. Hang on. They're all named. Okay, so Joanne, go ahead and step up. Yes. Here we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here's your
Oh, how
certificate.
sweet is this?
And
Thank you. I didn't get to shake
oh,
your
that's
hand
right.
before.
John's not here. No picture today?
That's okay. Thank you so much.
Is it
Good to see you
yourself?
now.
Okay. Yeah, he's on vacation today. James Cooper. James. Thank you. Very much.
Thanks again, Jamie.
You want to take a picture? You want to get one of all? Yeah. Okay, Norma? Norma Crooks? Not here? All right. Teodoro Gutierrez. Did I say that anywhere close to being right?
Very well.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Donna Gutierrez. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Appreciate the certificate.
Thank you.
Thank you, graduate.
Mark Jacobs. Oh, Mark. How are
Thank you. I'm good. Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations, graduate.
Thank you.
Eleanor Noritaki. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eldor.
Melissa Orr. That's me. Yeah. Hi, Melissa.
Congratulations.
Susan Reynolds, not here. Eileen Tejas.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great. Thank you. It was great. That was fantastic.
Teresa Thomas. Not here. All right. Vanessa. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for participating in this. And you know what they say? 50% of you will run for council in the next 6 months. So just remember that. Do you want to go? Oh, yeah.
Council members might want to smile too. I can see you.
Go.
I can add something just real quick. So, reaccreditation for any department is never an easy or a short or a quick thing. And certainly with police, not just police in general and the complexity of their jobs and the breadth of their jobs, but also kind of the moment that we're in and the eye that people have on our police officers right now. It's important for us to be performing at the highest level, to be employing all of the best practices, to be doing all of the things we need to be doing for the public to keep them safe and to give them assurances that we're being fair, we're being good, we're doing things the way we're supposed to be doing them and the way they want us to be doing them. We're working together with the community and not only for them, but with them. And in the, had an opportunity, the reaccreditation process is again, lengthy, robust, months of work ahead of time, preparing that all leads up to this 2-day on-site inspection from high-ranking officers in other departments and agencies. And they come and they look, and one of the things that they did is they met with me to talk about what I'm seeing, my expectations, and what they're seeing, and give me feedback and all that kind of thing. And I usually walk into those sort of conversations expecting something like an audit. Like, yeah, it's mostly good, but hey guys, like this one thing or these two things, we got to work on that. The two gentlemen that came and evaluated our police department were so sort of blown away just at how good we're doing. And it gave me a great sense of gratitude and appreciation for the staff in our department who are working hard every day to make it that way. They talked more about the cool ideas that they saw us doing that they're going to take back and try to do it in their place than probably anything else. They were so excited at how well we're doing. I think this is very well-deserved recognition. I know they received the physical award last month in Flagstaff, but just, I think, tremendously grateful that we have the kind of police department that is working with people, that is serving them, that's community-oriented. Just employing all the best practices, doing all the things you love to see the police department doing. And a lot of that credit goes to the leadership, right, to Chief Bonnie, to her senior leaders. But when you look through the department, there are leaders at every level. And that is, I think, a big part of why we're so successful. So congratulations to our police department. And scoot over a little so I can take a picture.
Chief, you want to make a few comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not really sure where to stand. It's awkward no matter what. But I would echo your sentiments, as city manager, that it is due, all the credit for this is due to the men and women that do the job every single day. Our accreditation team up here of Blakely, Michelle, and Katie did the really heavy lifting on this. But one of the things about accreditation that I appreciated is not just a snapshot in time. It's a look, and it's a 4-year process, and every year we have to look at everything throughout our department, and it really is a testament to the type of people that we continue to hire, the folks that we focus on hiring and supporting and encouraging to continue to do this really important job. So congratulations to you all. Thank you for the work that you do every day, and we'll start again tomorrow.
All right, while the, while the mayor's making his way back up here, I'll move us on to our next topic, which is the open call to the public. The City of Prescott welcomes public engagement. Residents may comment and address the council regarding matters that are not included on the posted agenda during the call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a green speaker card and submit it to me prior to the meeting being convened. As a reminder, speakers are limited to 4 minutes, and the call to the public will be limited to 40 minutes in total, with the following stipulations. Citizens will be limited to addressing the council on the same topic only 4 times in total. If a topic has been addressed more than 5 times by different speakers, the mayor may limit future discussions on this topic, and topics of a primarily national concern may be limited at the discretion of the mayor. I do not have any green comment cards at this time. Is there anyone that wished to address the council on something that's not on the agenda? Okay, we can move on then, Mayor.
Okay, with no call to the public, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone on the council want to pull anything from consent?
I do, Mayor. I want to pull item K
K.
for a delay for another later time, if possible.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the remaining items.
Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8H, or I, I'm sorry. J, I'm sorry. One of
Second.
those days.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Item K.
We're going to pull this. It's going to be, it actually is right now in some legal deliberation, and I think we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to have a final answer on the settlement.
So I think that a motion to table it would probably be in order, and we can bring it back. There's a term that's not been agreed to by the parties yet, so it's not ready for council vote.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we table item 8K.
Do we
Second.
need a date specific on that, or we can just make it?
It doesn't need a date specific. If you can just give direction that when it's approved and that we've negotiated the contract, we can
Yeah, I
come
think
back.
as soon as both parties approve the changes to the contract, then we'll bring it back at the next council meeting after that happens.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
All right, we'll move on to item 9, consent ordinance.
Adoption of ordinance number 2025-1900, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending title, 17 General Engineering Standards, Chapter 17-1, Section 17-1-1, Article 7, by adding a new Section 7-15 fiber optic network installation to the city's General Engineering Standards, adding a new micro trench detail QCSD 213Q to the General Engineering Standards, adding a severance clause, providing for penalties, and declaring an emergency.
Well, does anybody have any questions or concerns? We have an executive from the micro trenching company present. Nothing? All right, in that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to adopt consent ordinance item 9A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Thanks for coming. Congratulations. We're looking forward to that fiber optic network.
In the agenda.
Pardon me.
Later in the agenda. This is just, he can trench now. He has a standard to trench.
Okay, so that was just the engineering standards. All right, then I'll withdraw my congratulations and table them for later in the meeting. Okay, we'll move to item 10, liquor license.
Public hearing and consideration for a new Series 6 bar liquor license application from Guillermo Aldaco, applicant for the Yard Bar, location 214 North Montezuma Street. The application fee has been paid and the sign has been posted for the required 20 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance and no public comments have been received.
Is the applicant present? If you'd like to come up and give us maybe a thumbnail sketch of your new establishment.
Yeah, we're basically building an outdoor bar across the street at the Yard. The plans are being engineered right now. We had a PAC meeting with the city, and most of it seems to be acceptable, so we're just going through the engineering.
So is that in the courtyard open area?
That's correct, yeah.
So will this be a permanent open establishment, or is it just occasional?
No, it'd be permanent establishment, yeah.
You can run over between meetings.
Yes.
Does anybody have any concerns or comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Have a
May I
motion
move
and a
forward, but both of those at the same time? They have to be separate? Okay, thank you.
Councilman Gambogi. You can give me a red. Passes 7-0.
Okay, second motion.
Mayor, I move to approve with no recommendation for liquor license application number 351704 for a new Series 6 bar liquor license for the Yard Bar, location 214 North Montezuma Street.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Well, congratulations and good luck with your new establishment, open air establishment.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, now we're on our regular agenda, item 11A.
Review and approval regarding the request for naming of the Watson Lake Park Horseshoe Courts. I do not have a presentation for you on this item. You received information on this at a study session back in July. No public comments were received during the public comment period, so now before council is whether or not they want to approve the renaming of the Horseshoe Courts.
Do we have a representative here from the Cordes family? No. All right, then, I'll entertain a motion to approve this naming.
Mayor, I move to approve the renaming the Watson Lake Park Horseshoe Courts to the Cal Cordes Horseshoe Courts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, item 11B.
Public hearing number 1 in accordance with resolution number 2024-1876 regarding 15% alternative design concept plans for the Effluent and Wastewater Pipeline Improvement Project. And I just want to reiterate a couple of things from earlier today. This item was discussed at a study session earlier this afternoon. And the item is the first of 2 public hearings scheduled in accordance with the adoption of resolution number 2024-1876. All of the comment cards that were submitted during the study session will be called in the order received for this public hearing, and then comment cards submitted for this item at the start of this meeting will be called in the order received. During the public hearing, citizens are provided with an opportunity to offer comments regarding the proposed project. The public hearing is not an open house, therefore there are no sign-in sheets, special comment cards, or displays. All standards of decorum remain in effect for this portion of the meeting. I don't know if staff has anything additional that they want to add since we had the study session discussion earlier. Okay, so Mayor, we can move straight to public comment unless there were questions that were lingering from the council.
Well, I know Councilman Gambogi had a question before we adjourned the study session. Councilman Gambogi, do you want to comment at this time?
Comment, not a question. I thought, Gwen, and your group, that was an excellent presentation. And it was excellent primarily because it contained a lot of facts. And as I receive emails and text messages and see Facebook posts, the thing that comes to mind is when we have discussions like this, I think of Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who once said, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. So if we're going to have a good discussion on the widening of 89, we need to have facts from both sides, not just denying the facts that we've seen today.
Councilwoman Furworth, you had a remaining question from the study session.
I did, and this is, I'm looking for just a ballpark. You gave us the ballpark costs for alternative 3B, 5B, and 2B, and then about 2 slides later, you broke it out into wastewater versus street tax. So just a ballpark of the costs. What percentage of these total costs ballpark would be related to wastewater, and what percentage of it would be weighted to street tax? And it might range, your answer might range, but because I understand the road impacts are different based on the alternatives. No?
So we can text back to the office and hope to answer that for you by the end of the public hearing, but we don't know that right off the top of our head.
I appreciate that.
Well,
Thank
let us
you.
see what we can do before we're
Okay.
done with the conversation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we'll start with the public comment.
David Chesson.
Thank you. My name is David Chesson. I'm retired, live here, used to work for the DOT, and I often wrote documents like this, helped write documents like this. I'm going to start with my conclusion because I'm sure you'll cut me off even though I'm planning on 3 minutes. Stop, rethink, Let's do this right. Lots of data and lots of facts. It does not mean you've got the right data and the right facts for this project. So moving on to this presentation, traffic counts, page 7. According to
Can you
this,
speak into the microphone so we can hear you a little
Thank
better?
you.
You can move that if you like.
according to this document, and I quote, 24-hour bi-directional volumes and peak hour turning movements were collected on a single day, Tuesday, January 7, 2025. Yet slide 39 adds May 2023 counts, ADOT's daily traffic volumes, the origin destination model, and annual city data, all described as extremely similar. But there's no explanation of how these data sets were reconciled or whether seasonal variations were considered. That's a major gap when evaluating corridor performance. The SOQ also required multi-day sampling. Page 10. Level of service. LOS was based on 10 simulations using PTV VISM 23. That is what this document says. But slide 39 claims 100 runs, 20 each of AM, PM across 5 models. That's a direct contradiction. Was future year modeling properly calibrated or extrapolated from a single base year without documentation of calibration inputs, validation checks, or sensitivity testing? The modeling lacks transparency and fails basic reliability standards. It shouldn't guide major infrastructure projects like this one. Speed metrics, slide 39. The slide states LOS is defined by speed, travel, time, maneuverability, delay, and safety. I agree. Yet the analysis omits the 85th percentile speed, a core FHWA and ADOT metric reflecting natural driver behavior. This was not even mentioned in this meeting today. The consultant mentions it in passing, but not as a standard. That weakens their claim about traffic flow improvements. FHWA explicitly warns against using LOS as a standalone. LOS is going to fail regardless of what is done here. We should accept that and in this less than 2 mile corridor. It's just going to happen whether we do it today or 20 years from now. Roundabout justification, slide 41. I love roundabouts.
You have 30 seconds.
I support roundabouts when they're appropriate, but these are proposed at locations with no existing traffic control. That's a major shift in driver behavior. Referencing crash reductions at signalized intersections doesn't explain why roundabouts are the right fit here. Without site-specific justification, the data feels more like a sales pitch than a safety strategy. In conclusion, we're being asked to accept a major investment based on incomplete modeling, vague rationale, and selective data. I don't feel the documents and the presentations really are seeking the right solution, but the predetermined solution to fit the desired outcome. Thank you for your time.
Mike Coffey.
Good afternoon. My remarks will focus just on the issues around estimated costs. Although the project may cost every Prescott household more than $1,500, my concern is not about the cost amount, but rather the lack of transparency. First, the resolution required cost information has not been practically available to the public during this comment period. We hoped for a coherent design concept report, but we got a fragmented website conglomeration of things that required user assembly. A week ago, I challenged each of you to see if you could find the costs within 10 minutes of hunting. None of you responded positively. Second, the cost buried here and the cost repeated today are a gross summary of available data. At best, the public and council are being poorly informed. The director has suggested that we just have budgetary cost estimates today and that more detailed estimates will only come later. This is sort of true, but it's not being transparent. I'll explain. Kimberly Horn is an established engineering company and is likely conforming to the federal DOT estimating handbook. This means at this design stage, there are detailed spreadsheets itemizing all of the project cost elements. These numbers obviously have uncertainty that will be refined with time. It's called a Class B engineer's estimate, but they have not shared these details with you. Important because these details are what relate the features to the costs. It's information that you need to make wise decisions. Let's try some questions you might have. What's the project really going to cost? Construction cost estimates, by definition, do not include soft costs such as engineering design, planning, right-of-way. You've not been shown these numbers. Construction is 3 years away. Are inflation adjustments included, and why are they? And what are they? Okay, how about finishing? How about a really common sense question? What's the cost of just doing the necessary plumbing? Rip the old lines out, replace them, and repave the highway. No roundabouts or stuff that's not a necessity. You can't answer that question. It is essential that the public is well informed
You have
and the
30
council,
seconds.
as wise stewards of the public money and trust, is well informed. You have been shown what the staff wants you to see, not what you need to see, and you can fix that. Thank you.
Kathy Rusing.
Good afternoon, Mayor-elect Kathy Rusing. I would like to respectfully ask that you support option 2B with modifications. This project is still in flux. There are so many unanswered questions, and the scope of the project is still under assessment. I agree with Councilwoman Lois's comment about this needs to be more systemic. I thought that the two roundabouts, the redesign of those two roundabouts at Watson Lake Park and at Phippen Museum were included in option 2B, and then I found out that they weren't. Why weren't they? Also, I found out today that originally the treated effluent that flows south from the airport was the only line that was going to be replaced. And the purpose of that effluent just has one purpose. It just goes to Prescott Lakes for their golf course. Now I find out that it's going to be another raw sewage line is going to be trenched from the Sundog north to the airport. I didn't see any increase in the cost estimate analysis of this. Another thing we have up in the air is funding. This is a regional arterial. It's still a state highway once it leaves the Prescott city limits. Why aren't we hammering down and getting appropriations and financing from the county, because it serves a county island and county residents? And why aren't we looking at ADOT? Has anyone contacted ADOT? We still have funding from SIMPO that's up in the air, funding from state. How about federal funding? And in order to be successful, we need to have a cost-benefit analysis. It's clear if you read the state statutes that grants and funding are more successful if you do a cost-benefits analysis, and that has never been mentioned. We heard today more about the process and not exactly about what is going to be planned. So in summary, please support option 2B with modifications. And we are here today to find out where our elected officials stand on this project. Who's for widening and who isn't for widening? Because this has become a campaign issue. And we have the two candidates, Frederickson and Gehring, who received the most votes that were for option 2B. They were not for the widening. So if this majority of council, which isn't even going to be here in 10 weeks, is for the widening, I think we need to find out now before you vote on September 9th. And if you're going to vote on September 9th for the widening, I don't think you're going to be listening to the voice of the people. I have a badge here that says no blasting, save our scenic Highway 89. I've had this badge for at least 4 years. And the public has, I've had 3 campaigns, and the public has been overwhelmingly against the widening. This is a scenic byway, and it will kill our soul if this iconic scenic highway gets blasted through the Dells. Thank you.
Jim Gehring.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, thank you. My name is Jim Gehring, and I live in Prescott Lakes. I want to draw your attention to the traffic impact analysis by Kimley Horn. That was published in June of this year, so it's a recent current study. What do you think their first recommendation might be? You go to section 7.4, and you'll find recommendation number 1 is to implement alternative 2B when? For immediate implementation. That's Kimley Horn. That's not my recommendation, although I'll stand behind it. That's Kimley Horn's recommendation. Why? Because 2B improves safety for cross streets along the corridor immediately. So number 2, though, in Kimley Horn's recommendations is to advance alternatives 3B and 5B for further consideration. Their third recommendation is to have capacity improvements on the corridor no later than 2034. Well, wait, that's close to, well, that's over 8 years from now. You could actually implement 2B immediately, like the traffic impact analysis says, and then see how it works. And my supposition is that 2B all by itself is going to improve traffic to the point where implementing capacity improvements, adding lanes, might well be delayed considerably from 2034. So you could implement 2B and then, if necessary, begin design on 3B and 5B in 2030. Alternative 2B could be substantially reduced in cost if slip lining of the existing effluent main is feasible. You're looking at a guy who's slip lined effluent mains in the past, and it's been very successful in the past. The other thing about slip lining is it avoids replacement. So you don't have to dig up the street service over the existing effluent main. And it hopefully helps avoid long closures because you're not closing and tearing up anywhere near as much street. So my suggestion is that slip lining should be explored in detail before you make a final decision on anything.
You have 30 seconds, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. I also believe you should look into the efficacy of a smart signal system to see what it is really projected to do. And then last, 2B could be designed in such a way that 3B and 5B would be implemented and go right alongside it in the future without any extra cost. Thank you.
Joanne Ohlers.
Think that'll work? Great. Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Joanne Ohlers, and I'm representing Save the Dells. I live at 2911 East Granite Gardens Drive, right in the neighborhood that would be affected by the road change. I want to speak from the public's point of view on the difficulties experienced in accessing and understanding information relating to this project, what was referred to as the public outreach process. As members of the general public, educators, and professionals, we communicate information every day, and we know what effective communication is. However, we've been perplexed by the difficulties encountered in this city process. Consequently, there has been a major loss of confidence in the SR 89 roadway outreach process. The format of the information and its accessibility are obstacles to the needed dialogue for creating the best outcome for a project that has the potential to change the character of our city forever. For instance, we are confronted with changing formats and changing information which should be reported up front. Subscribers are not notified of changes on the website. The beta PR group that was shown in the study session was said to provide e-news blurbs. I've never seen an e-news blurb, and I'm wondering how I would get those. Save the Dells serves as a bridge between the city and the public, and yet we are disadvantaged because of incomplete information. And we were turned down to meet to try to remedy some of these inconsistencies. I have been contacted about the perceived cancellation of today's study session because people couldn't find the notification on the city website. When you filter by city council, the voting meeting and public hearing does not show on the list. You have to uncheck the city council box, and then all three, executive session, study session, and voting meeting appear. So people were thinking this meeting was canceled. The study session part of the day. So we really want to help spread the word. And today I went to the city to see if I could find a post on the Facebook page about this meeting that I could share with our subscribers. And what I saw was the first post of the day was Happy Dog Day. Because of these omissions and others, we, other engaged people, members of the general public, have been operating somewhat in the dark, even though certain boxes have been checked to satisfy minimal compliance for engagement. I once heard a former city council member
30
say,
seconds, Joan.
When viewing the results of a hilltop building project, I had no idea it would look this way. Will we look back at this project with similar regrets? Please slow it down so we can get it right. Bottom line, the process warrants improved communication, extension of the public comment period, and a delay in the vote on the choice of alternatives. Thank you.
Truly Bracken.
I'm going to comment today also on transparency in the public engagement process, but from a different perspective. Other people have spoken to the problems that occurred, which I believe have been mostly remedied, but have asked for extensions, which I also support. But beyond the details of problems with the website and the public engagement process, we need to ask a broader question. It's the one I hear in the community. Have the public and the council been given the perspective they need to understand the full impact of what is being proposed in the two most preferred alternatives? That's critically important with a project that will irreparably change the historic Granite Dells Narrows and this key section of scenic and historic roadway. We've seen nothing that gives us a sense of what will remain of the iconic Narrows after blasting, rock and vegetation removal, and road expansion. I'm not being critical of staff or the contractor in this regard. I think they had no task that required them to do anything to depict what would remain after this work is done. But I think the public really wants to know and needs to know. The Granite Dells Narrows and State Road 89 through the Narrows are true icons of the city, much like Whiskey Row, seen by many every day and valued by all of us. Has the impact on what we will all live with in the end been fully considered? The cost of the project, this loss, has barely been given any mention in the slides and materials. Not surprisingly, since it hasn't been a part of the work that's been expected to be produced. We all care a great deal about what makes up the Narrows now. It's been depicted over the years and with good reason. This viewscape is important to the public and yet has been given only limited attention so far. And it's not surprising that the city's contractor hasn't tried to help us imagine what will happen. That can best be done with graphic depictions and none of those have been done. There have been efforts made by individual citizens which have not yet produced an image that can be shared, but we're hopeful that that will happen in the next few weeks. The Granite Dells Narrows is an historic city icon, and changes to it can generate a lot of public concern. It's what I hear about. There are uncertainties at this point, yet they haven't stopped the contractor from providing projections and depictions of traffic flow based on the limited
30
data.
seconds, truly.
Thank you, Mayor. We also need projections and depictions of the before and after of the Narrows. Without them, we will have to use whatever tools individual citizens produce to spur our imaginations. I can't offer you alternatives to widening that would reduce the flow of traffic through the Narrows, but if the city actively seeks out other ways to ease the flow of traffic, if that becomes a task, we may well find another path towards that. For now, I'd urge you to seriously consider some variation of alternative 2B. I think we need to be creative. I think we need to look for other solutions. Thank you.
Michael Marchand.
I am not Michael Marchand. My name is Bonnie Bonnie McMinn, and I am reading for Michael Marchand. He was not available today. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The two handouts you will receive after I finish speaking were prepared by Michael Marchand, a retired engineer and a medical device quality and compliance professional. If you read just the first page, you will understand the key issues. The rest is supporting detail. Everyone in this room is building plans, reputations, and legacy on just two numbers: the current traffic flow on SR 89, the assumed growth rate. Both numbers drive the level of service modeling. Everything else ripples from there. Now, Kimley Horn collected only 1 day of actual traffic data. We've heard this a few times today. 1 day, but this afternoon I want you to focus on the growth rate assumption. Kimley Horn justified a 2.75% growth rate, calculated using data from 2 ADOT stations on SR 89. But here's the problem. That number cannot be used. It comes from ADOT's TDMS database, and ADOT explicitly warns on its own website, and I quote, "ADOT makes no warranties of any kind, either express or implied, as to the accuracy or reliability of the information and its contents." The disclaimer continues. Information provided on this website is solely for your personal, non-commercial use. That alone should give you pause. But there's more. On slide 32 of today's presentation, Kimley Horn presented the 2.75% figure as if it applied to the entire region. It does not. That data comes from only 2 ADOT sites on SR 89. So you've been misled on a critical piece of data. And if they misrepresent something this basic, what else should we be questioning? If Kimley Horn stumbles or something as fundamental as traffic growth assumptions, how can we have confidence in their ability to handle this complex project engineering and challenges otherwise? Here's my recommendation. Commission an independent qualified reviewer, or better yet, a team of reviewers, to examine Kimley Horn's documentation and models thus far. Importantly, this reviewer must be independent of both Kimley Horn and the city. If Kimley Horn resists that review, that alone should be a red flag. A competent engineering firm should be eager to show their work and defend it. An independent review will strengthen confidence for all the stakeholders. Now, you may say there isn't time for this, but for a $37 million project with a 25-year impact, there absolutely is time. Always quality over schedule. Thank you. I have handouts. I didn't want to give them to you ahead of time. But the red that you'll receive.
Bonnie, if you just want to hand them to me, I'll distribute them to the council, okay? Ruth Ann Norris.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff, fellow residents. It's a pleasure to be here today. I urge you to carefully consider all the options before you make a decision to move forward on this project, because there are so many unanswered questions. Many of the previous speakers have alluded to those. Many residents, myself included, have had difficulty accessing the information online. Yesterday, I tried to get more details in preparation for today's meeting, and I find that I go to the website and I put in SR 89 widening in the search box, and I come up with these items that do not pertain to this particular item. You have to say SR 89 improvements, and that will take you somewhere useful. I had to end up calling the Public Works office to find out, how do I get to the virtual meeting room? I can't get there from my phone. So there's a lot of frustration in other residents who have tried to get info and can't. Very few people understand that the public comment period is nearly over. On September 9th, you're closing it. So a lot of people think that the opinions they expressed at the open houses, 2 years ago, 18 months ago, were the end of it, that people pretty much said no widening. But here we are. But despite all that, I have a bigger concern. I do not fault the engineers and the consultant or the staff. They're following their training. Considering the big picture is not their job. It is the job of City Council. It is your job. I urge you to step back and take a bigger view. Prescott is way more than just an assortment of zip codes, houses, businesses, and streets. It's a very special place, full of beauty and history. People who come here do not come here to save 2 minutes of travel time on their way through the Dells. They come here for the beauty of the mountains, the trees, the wildlife, and yes, the rocks. Where are the spaces for bicycles and pedestrians in the designs we've seen so far? We're a city of people who love the outdoors. Where is the consideration of wildlife? We're a city of people who think seeing a deer in their yard makes their day.
You have 30 seconds.
The movement of cars does not have to trump all our other values. We could slow down for 2 miles. By all means, fix the underground pipes, repave the road, and keep in mind that once this special place is destroyed, it can never be restored. Boulders will be blasted and pasted with grout to try to make them blend in. All the mature roadside vegetation
Please conclude. Your time is up.
will be removed and will take many years to return. What is the cost to our community of that? Let's keep Prescott, Prescott.
Ralph Hess.
Good afternoon, council, community. I'm going to follow up, my comments are going to follow up on what my concerns that were expressed to you on November 19th, 2024 meeting. The contract number 2025-066, which is the contract between the City of Prescott and Kimberly Horn, the one the mayor signed, and Mayor Good signed on November 21st, 2024, is not the contract that council approved during your voting meeting of November 19th, 2024. Please compare the contract, and I've sent this email to you previously, so I gave you the link back to the November 19th meeting, and also gave you a copy of the contract that was signed by Mayor Good. Compare the two. The two contracts are significantly dissimilar. The blanks on the version approved by council on November 19th were not merely filled in afterward. The template form contract was 11 pages, and that's without any description of the scope of services that was to be performed by Kimberly Horn. The contract executed by Mayor Good is 69 pages, including extensive scope of services provisions. And as we heard during the study session, those scope of services apparently can be modified when between the staff and Kimberly Horn. So you haven't seen the original, or unless you've looked at the contract that was signed by Mayor Good since November 19th. But those apparently are going to be, scope of services are going to be, can be amended. So unless council has ratified the version executed by Mayor Good on November 21st, 2024, council has not approved that version of the contract as required by the Prescott City Code. So I assert Mayor Good was not authorized to execute, as he did, the contract on November 21st. And there's no stretch of the imagination did council approve the scope of services set forth in Exhibit A or the other terms in that contract signed by Mayor Good. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the schedule that you've arranged for this in compliance with resolution number, I forget the number, but anyways, you've compressed the time period so that the actual vote that you've got scheduled for September 9th is on the last day of public comment. How are you going to be able to...
You have 30 seconds, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Mayor. How are you going to be able to consider all of those public comments that under the terms of the resolution are supposed to be published 10 days after the study session? How are you going to be able to consider those that are received up until September 9th when you're voting on September 9th? What is the rush on this that requires you to compress the public meetings so the two public meetings are 2 weeks apart, and you're not going to even have time to fully consider all of the public comments at the time you vote. I'll close in saying the one thing I want to do is commend all of you for the questions and the comments that I heard come from the dais during this study session. I was somewhat disappointed with a lot of the answers that I don't think really satisfied what were very good questions and comments that came from all of you. Thank you.
Roberta Flood.
Hello, I'm Roberta Flood, Prescott resident. I wanted to thank you all for your public service. I'm sure it's not an easy task, and the city planners for all of their hard work. I just had two comments, more food for thought than anything else, possible paradigm shifts. My question is, are we obligated to accommodate increased traffic flow into Prescott's central business district? If you think about water pipes, we've been increasing the capacity on all of the ingresses into the central business district. Well, water pipes, a larger pipe can't go into a smaller pipe. So what are we going to do downtown? There's going to be repercussions. So the question is, what then? Okay, we increased all the flow into town, what then? My second and last question is more geared towards the design engineering firm. What design precedents was consulted with for or used for your modeling and development? The reason I ask this is, as a military person myself, I've had to move quite often, and I've seen lots of great examples around the country of, I've seen a lot of great examples around the country of out-of-the-box thinking. One of them that comes to mind is in Metro DC. Rock Creek Park is an iconic scenic highway through the middle of DC. And during different times of the day, they take the two-lane roads and switch traffic direction to accommodate the traffic at that time of day. So is that a possibility here? Could we think outside the box a little bit more? And that's all. Thank you.
Carter LaBarge.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Carter LaBarge. I'd like to tell you that I submitted a comment on the comment site, and I can't find it anywhere. So I think somewhere you need to look at your comment site because I don't think that all the comments that are being put in are actually entering into the mix. So your comment form also only allows for a maximum of 2,000 characters, and my thoughts on this issue require a lot more than that. When the suggestion to expand the existing passage of Route 89 through the Granite Dells surfaced a couple of years ago, the city planners used flawed data to meet their desired goal. The current revised plan, submitted to the Prescott Council, is using this same program. The city engineering and planning group hired an engineering company to build several scenarios explicitly graded on a specific set of criteria. The goal was the same. How do we justify expanding Route 89? When our city employees plan for the future, they hire engineers to assist them in meeting the goal of expansion. Expansion is the goal. Our planners are not looking at the intrinsic value of the leisurely drive through the extraordinary Granite Dells. That is not the goal of expansion-oriented planners. Planners must continue to expand. That justifies their existence. That's what they're here for. When the planners began this program several years ago, we were told that we needed to expand the number of lanes for safety reasons. The original explanation listed an unacceptable number of accidents and that expanding the number of lanes through the Dells would lead to a much safer passageway. Only after being pressed for specifics, we the voters were then told that the number of accidents listed in this study was a compilation of 2 years of data and that a significant number of these accidents were single-car events. When you break down the data, the number of accidents per year was halved, and it is reasonable to expect that most, if not all, of the single-car accidents were due to drivers not paying attention. It also seems reasonable to expect that if the city expands the number of lanes, that the drivers will also increase their speed. It is also reasonable to expect that the same percentage of drivers will not be paying attention. In the newest iterations of the engineering study, this is dealt with by adding roundabouts to cause traffic calming. So let's think this through one time. Let's think through it one more time. If we need additional lanes for added safety, and we expect that drivers will then drive faster, so to ensure a safe passage through the expanded roadway, we need to add the roundabouts to slow them down. What are we doing here? If we repair the pipelines as needed and upgrade the existing roadbed, we've accomplished the goal, and we do not need to add traffic calming, as the Dells Narrows accomplishes this all by themselves. Our newest studies were designed to meet the goals of the planners. One of the desired goals is to make
30
certain
seconds, Mr.
that our
Labarge.
roadways meet the blind criteria of the state DOT grade. This is based on the number of cars expected to the roadway over a specific time frame. It does not take into account that the taxpayers and voters do not wish the roadway to be improved to meet DOT standards. Many of us also take issue with the single-day traffic study that was used to determine that we have an issue that must be rectified. We, the taxpayers, do not wish to expand 89 at an extraordinary cost, only to add more unnecessary roundabouts that will take them to a newly
Carter,
created
your
choke
time
point
is up.
at Willow Roundabout. Thank you very much.
Ralph Rodarty. Is Ralph in here? No? Deb Thalassides?
Good afternoon, Council. Deb Thalassides. I live in Prescott. After watching the study session today, it struck me that it's almost like this entire process is trying to fit a predetermined outcome. And I don't think staff is the problem here. I think, despite its flaws, the public engagement process has given you two priorities. One, preserve the granite dells, and two, make sure we have a safe roadway. The question that's not being asked is, why can't we do both? And why don't the alternatives that are being modeled by the engineer look at accomplishing both of those things? That is the policy question. That is what you guys are responsible for directing, and instead we're getting into minutia about data that may or may not be right or can be used, as Mayor Good pointed out, however you choose to, if you're bright with statistics. There's questions about the RFP process. There's questions about the engineering firm. But I think the reason you keep wrestling with this is, as a community, we need to figure out how to manage future increased traffic and at the same time preserve our iconic dells. Was that marching order given to the staff and the consultants? No. SIMPO said, hey, we need to widen this road, and that's the order that they're marching to. That's not what we're all talking about. We have a big disconnect here. And it's not because anybody's wrong, it's because we're not listening. A lot of you, I know, I helped you run, you all are concerned about managing growth. This is what it looks like. It's these kinds of decisions, and it's up to you guys to frame the question instead of letting the data or an outside consultant or even well-meaning staff lead you in a direction that you're not hearing we want. Thank you for taking the time to think about this.
Rod Moyer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The last time I spoke to you all about this possible widening project, I described...
Rod, can you move the microphone up?
Sorry, yeah. I described a situation I'd observed, and a friend of mine also had observed who lives up there, in which the traffic was flowing very freely to the south during the peak traffic hours when the traffic is southbound. And they flowed freely until they came to the roundabout at Watson Lake. And fixing or doing anything to that roundabout is not within the scope of this project. So That leaves intersections. Intersections with 89 through the Narrows can be a problem with cars trying to get out. But that traffic is very, very light. The intersection with Granite Dells Road is one of the busiest, and 10 cars per hour come out of that road to get onto 89 per hour during the peak hours. 10. So yeah, we maybe need to do something for them so they don't have to wait 5 minutes or 10 or whatever it is to find a break. I proposed a smart traffic light solution to such intersections. And during the Design Advisory Committee meetings, that idea was given very short shrift. We were told that the engineer did not like to intersperse traffic lights with roundabouts because it would confuse motorists. I don't believe it. I've been driving for 70 years, well, a little less, and I just don't believe it. Now, what is a smart traffic light? There are different degrees of smartness you can program into a traffic light. One of them is to simply change its timing with surrounding lights when the traffic flow reverses. Simple. One of them is to cycle normally, but change a little faster if there's a car that wants to turn out from an intersection via the sensors in the road. A really smart traffic light for this application would be one that is green all the time for 89, unless there is a car at one of those intersections on that sensor. So you got these passed out to you, I assume?
You have 30 seconds, Mr. Moyer.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I thought Bonnie had gotten them to you all earlier, but maybe not, so I passed them out. And I would urge you to study them. All the information is there. Thank you.
Bonnie McMinn.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. Bonnie McMinn, Prescott, Arizona. You are about to spend $37 million on bad data, ignored requirements, and half-studied options. Traffic counts are incomplete, growth rates are inaccurate, and even ADOT has stated that the data is informational only. Yet all of this has been treated as fact. A qualitative exercise was presented as if it were quantitative, and the advisory group wasn't given costs or any other key details. So I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of how statistics can be looked at. These flaws weaken the confidence in the entire traffic analysis, and this weighed very heavily into the 3 alternatives that staff presented. The statement of qualifications required analysis of the effluent pipe refurbishment. Now, I've heard a lot about we think and we know and we assume, et cetera, but we don't have any real data around that fact. Is that pipe completely unavailable for refurbishment, whereas Jim Gehring mentioned maybe you could do a slip line or something like that? It hasn't been addressed. Most of the effort of all of these meetings has been focused on selling of the widening and not solving the actual problem. The city's website was fixed only yesterday. For months, residents could not access the virtual meeting icons on smartphones or tablets. And I shared this with a few council members. And I also have video in case anybody wants to see how it worked before. With the $37 million decision pending, the public should have had full access much sooner. We know about roundabouts. There's no analysis done on signalized intersections or flex lanes. The traffic was counted on a single snow day despite the requirements from the statement of qualifications. Modeling's not been shared how to signals, flex lanes, or the emergency vehicles. That was asked on July 8th by 2 councilwomen, and we don't have that yet. Exclusions in the statement of work. The current contract excludes, this isn't fine print, it's right there. Final design, lighting, off-site drainage, and construction administration. I'm guessing that might be expensive. The disclaimer states that they will require separate amendments. This means the true cost of whatever it is we're talking about is beyond the $37 million or whatever. Community input, you've heard. The 85% want the roadway improvements. We want no widening. Moving forward against that, guidance undermines public trust. And finally, my request is straightforward. Pause this project. Ask the right questions. Correct the data, address the effluent pipe requirement, fully evaluate the alternatives that kind of make sense, like a traffic light, signals, flex lanes. Most importantly, clarify the real cost. You've heard this before, since critical items are excluded. And above all, align with the community survey showing strong opposition to widening.
You have 30 seconds, Bonnie.
The $37 million decision is too important, too costly to proceed without getting these fundamentals right. Thank you very much.
That's all, Mayor.
Well, I certainly appreciate the vast amount of public comment. And I particularly find a lot of it to be very legitimate. So we're going to be asked today not to make a formal action, but I think we do want to give some direction to staff on where we're going to go forward. For myself, I have a number of concerns. I think the public comment period and accessibility to the information that they legitimately have a right to review and to make comment on was not adequate. So consequently, I think that public comment period needs to be extended. I believe that good public policy is based on evidence. And I think we have a significant amount of evidence, but I think the evidence is not sufficient to be able to make a very valid decision that's going to be so incredibly costly and have such a big impact on our community and our future. I think the recommendation for a cost-benefit analysis is also legitimate, should be included. And I think I've made my comments before about my particular disagreement with pairwise methodology when it comes to establishing recommendations. For those of you who were at the study session, you heard my comments. For those of you that weren't, I had a major in biology when I graduated from college and a minor in psychobiology. And that's the biological basis for psychology. One of my classes was in a class called psychometry. And that is the analysis of the methodology of testing. So being able to understand how tests can be designed to direct the test takers in a particular direction if that's what the intention is. So in order to make questions valid and not have that happen, you have to really know what you're doing. Or if your intention is to direct them, that can be also achieved. So I generally do not support pairwise testing. I think the example I gave before was, okay, what's your choice? Do you want a pound of solid 24-karat gold, or do you want a puppy? So if you take the gold, people turn around and say, well, you hate pets. So that's an example of rather extreme one of how decisions can be directed if you really don't have good quality analysis and recommendations coming from a community group that's trying to show what the community wants in a project such as this. What else did I have here? I think Mr. Gehring's recommendation that maybe adopting the 2B now and then maybe analyzing how an expansion of lanes could happen as a secondary phase probably is an option that should be analyzed, and it wasn't in this one. And I think also the recommendation for maybe hiring an outside independent consultant to review these concerns probably is worthwhile considering the impact of a decision like this. So at this point, I will entertain other comments from the council. Councilmember Gambogi.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I have a different opinion. There's two things I heard today that gives me concern. Earlier, I mentioned that I thought the staff did an excellent job in the presentation because it gave us a lot of facts. But what I've heard here today is you summarily dismiss those facts without any facts of your own. And that kind of suggests that you're injecting fear in the rest of the residents. And then on top of that, I hear that you use the term blasting. That's a very disingenuous term. The rocks are not, it gives some image of rocks flying and breaking courthouse windows. The rock would be cleaved. It would drop right where it is. So in the spirit of a civil conversation, let's try to bring the temperature down, and if we're going to argue, let's argue on facts, not innuendos.
Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate all the public comment today. The one thing that maybe resonated with me was Mr. Hess's comment that the fact that the final day for public comment is the same day that we're going to be voting on this item. And I don't agree with that. I think that we need time to process public feedback before we vote. I don't think we should be voting the same day that the public comment period ends. And I don't think that we're ready. I do agree with Councilman Gambogi. I think the staff has done a really good job. I appreciate our city staff. But I do feel we need to postpone the voting to a later date. So, because I know that we're not going to get the public comments like 10 days past the end of the public comment period. So we need more time before we can vote on this matter. That's my opinion.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. Even when I was running 2 years ago, I said, when everyone asked me, what do I think about 89? And I said, there's no doubt in my mind, and I still remain that way today, that it's not a question about if we will widen 89 in the future, but the question is when. And through the past year of studies and discussions and public comments, et cetera, I've become more sensitized to the critical question of the how. For me, there's simply too many variables going right now. Things like our economic development plans coming to fruition, not only in the city of Prescott, but by our neighboring communities. The timing of Northern Prescott's home growth, the current design problems of the Willow Lake Roundabout not being in scope, and I agree with many of the public comments that that's the critical issue right now. And then, honestly, the questions about the current process, the validity of the public participation, including pairwising, I again, 4 roundabouts within 2.5 miles. I remember being crazed when I drove it. I don't want to be crazed while I'm driving through the Granite Dells. So I do agree that I think we need some more critical review of assumptions. I think, I do appreciate staff's expertise, and there was a lot of statements today as I was questioning things that were made very definitively. But I want you to prove it. I want you to show me in multiple other examples because I don't believe it right now, and I'm hearing from the public they don't either. And so I don't think, coming from corporate America, critical reviews and critical questioning was something we embraced and we valued. We did not view that as demeaning staff. And that's been, for me, kind of frustrating about being in this job. From the way I've come to make multi-million dollar decisions means you're going to do that, because it's none of our money, it's all of their money that we're spending. And so I think critical review and questioning is a good thing. We must fix the effluent line ASAP. And with just the 3 widening and safety options that are currently on the table, many questions and concerns, including changes to the scope of the services of the contract we didn't even know when we signed it. These are all kind of things that, for me, from where I come from, leave a lot of doubt in my mind. So I do think we need to move fast on fixing the effluent line. I like Garing's idea. I mentioned that yesterday about studying, could we slip line to give us maybe some more time and not risk in the next 6 months through the winter, coming up, another effluent line break. But I do believe that we need to give more time to studying this. I'm not in a position today to vote yes to anything on September 9th. And I am very concerned about the fact that the public comment period has not been successful to the point. I did my own math and review of the 89 comments that were in as of July 18th. 37% of the comments were against the widening and questioned, some of them questioned the process. 35% were for the widening, and even they questioned some of the process. And 24% of the people just questioned the process. They didn't have a for, they didn't have against, they just weren't with us. So for me, that's public trust. And when you're spending millions and millions of dollars, we're never all going to agree, but we need to feel trust in the process of how the city spends people's money. So I would like to see the extension of the questioning public comment period. I would like to push this off until we can answer some of these other questions and concerns. And I really would like to see if we can do something with slip lining or whatever to buy us some more time to make a better decision. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantelmi.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to weigh in on a lot of this stuff too, because and I did actually speak a little bit to Gwen about some of the suggestions I had, but real quickly, I'm going to go down a little list. I do think we need notifications on the front of that website if any changes at all have been made. We need a list. This was changed on page whatever it is. People need to be able to know if there were changes. I do have a real big problem if we've got a bait and switch situation going with the contract. If the contract is different, I think that needs to be looked into immediately and find out, what the differences are. I think it's very important. It's very evident to me, having worked in this business for so long. The average person cannot visualize how this is going to go. If you were able to call the company that we had come here and interview them that did the removal of the rock chemically, I think it would be very, very helpful to have a video of that process right there on that website so people can conceptualize what that means when they insert that chemical. They wait for expansion and the way it cracks. It's important for these people to be able to see that. And something as basic as a big backhoe out there digging those dirt and rock, and how the process has to go with loading the rock for removing it off the site, how constricted that area is going to be if we are insistent upon leaving, and I'm all for it, leaving one lane so that people can get through that. And then the cost of the flaggers in order to do that. When you bid a project like that, there's all kinds of hidden costs. I'd like to see a real comprehensive offering of every single aspect that goes into this project, because those hidden costs are real. We talked a little bit about anybody that's done a construction project, change orders, the cost of that. We do need some kind of an estimation on that. And in terms of extending the public comment comment period, I think we need to have another question and answer session out at the Centennial Center. Let these people come, bring those engineers, and let them ask those questions, no matter how silly the question is. There, you can see that there's a lot of misconception. People don't understand the process of this. They read the written word and they're taking it verbatim. It's not always like that. I did have problems with the Civic Plus getting on my cell phone, so I do agree with that. I didn't have the luxury this last week of having my iPad with me, so it was difficult to be able to access the website for me. And I'm on the latest Apple phone. I'm not sure why everything was dead when you can open the page, you just can't click on the squares that designate the different area to go to. So maybe we can work on that. But I think that's pretty much it. I do think it's very, very important, again, to let the public see the reality through videos. We can do that. A picture is worth $1,000 million. How's that? Okay, thank you.
Councilman Grady.
Thank you, Mayor. Hard to know where to begin. I raised a number of concerns during the study session that some of you perhaps didn't hear. And a lot of those have been voiced already by other members of City Council. I think the one thing that moves me that is largely understated during the evaluation process and even today, except in the case of a couple of citizens who brought this up, yeah, this is like Rock Creek Parkway in DC. There are probably other best practices around the country where we could look at quasi semi-rural areas or even urban areas like Washington, D.C. and see what have they done with their historic and scenic corridors. And I think, as some speaker mentioned towards the end, we do need to be reminded that this is historic, it's scenic, it's iconic, it's a part of our legacy. And I think until all of the questions that have been raised here today are satisfactorily answered, we certainly can't vote to move this forward on September 9th.
Well, thank you all for your comments. I think we can conclude that the majority of this council would like a number of improvements made before we move forward with this, and delaying a decision probably is the best decision that could be made based upon the comments we've heard and the concerns of the council. I also will direct the city attorney to review the terms of the contract that was approved by the council and the ones that was put in front of me to sign off on, to make sure that if it is in significant conflict, it has to be brought back to the council for a vote. And if it's not, then maybe it'll stand the way it's signed. So with that said, I think we can conclude this issue.
Mayor, can I get
agenda today.
Can I get some clarification really quick?
City manager?
Yeah, thank you. So
Yeah, you don't have a button that I get.
I don't have a button.
You gotta
I don't have
wave
anything
your
to throw
arms
at your
around.
direction. So
That's
I'll just have to chime in here. So I just want to be clear on the direction to staff. I'm hearing the delay and the wait. And I guess I'll start there with a couple of questions. One is, I guess the question of like, are we on the right path? So if we say we're going to add 60 days or whatever period of time the council says, that's another question I have, is how long are we delaying? If we said, hey, we're going to wait 60 days and we can get answers to questions, is that adequate? Because I'm hearing concerns about that, and then I'm hearing other concerns about we might not even be looking at the right options. And so if we might not be looking at the right options, that's a different thing. And so I'd appreciate some clarification there. And then also, I think staff's primary interest here has been we need to do those effluent lines and the water lines. And so is that, I guess that takes me to a place of, do we want to do that project and come back later with the road project? Or do we feel like we're close enough that we can continue to keep them together? The conversation has happened together because there's cost savings in doing them together. but we could do the effluent line project and then come back in a future year and do the road project. I'm just trying to get understanding of where the council feels would be the best direction.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, we have a lot of concerns in many different aspects of this, some of which have significant cost differentials, some of which will have an extended amount of time to be able to maybe do a phased repair on the effluent line, and then decide whether we do a 2B as a phase 1, and then possibly add lanes after that is done if we find out that the capacity is just not adequate to be able to deal with the growth. Those are a lot of complex questions. I don't think we have a consensus here to say do this or do that. That's why we have a highly skilled and experienced city manager.
I appreciate the confidence. So I'll say two more things really quickly. One, just on the slip lining idea, that is something that staff's look into. And as I understand it, that pipe isn't strong enough, right? It's broken many times already. There may be parts where it's not completely, I don't know if Gwen wants to jump in on that, but I don't think that the slip lining or the lining of the pipe is an option. So any path forward would have to include the replacement of the pipe. And Gwen, do I need to?
Yeah, there are several reasons. We were asked about slip lining earlier this week, so we took a look at that. One of the biggest deterrents from that is that when you slip line it, you lose some of the capacity of the pipe. It would reduce the size of the pipe to a point where it wouldn't deliver the water in the way that it should. The second biggest thing about the slip lining is that you have to, in order to put the slip line in, you have to have manholes every 500 feet, and there are no manholes through this corridor. So we would have to, staff estimated the installation of about 10 manholes just to slip line it and then to be able to maintain it, because the equipment that we have, while it's robust, only goes 500 feet in its total distance, and then you have to go to the next manhole and clean the next section. So we don't believe that slip lining is an option. Installation of 10 manholes would be in excess of $1 million. Again, how much money are we going to throw at this and throw at that to delay a decision? So I did want you to know that we did evaluate that as an option because it was brought to our attention, but I was informed that the project manager and others, the city engineer, had evaluated that previously and eliminated that because of those reasons. And Dallin, or Mr. Kimball's not incorrect in that each time that the pipe breaks, the feedback that we get from the contractor that's repairing it is that it's almost impossible to put it back together. They are literally band-aiding this pipe back together. The denigration of it is significant. The integrity of the pipe is at risk now, which is why it breaks so often. So those are just some things to consider. I don't believe slip lining is an option.
Council, Connie, what do you have?
We're going to keep talking about it.
Well, now you made me forget. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm seriously, I don't think we need to give them 30 more days to get this together. I don't think we stop this process. We've got so much money and time invested in it. We're going to have to replow through the same thing again. I think we need to continue on this path. We've got a few bumps in the road, but we need to handle these hurdles. And I do think instead of a comment period, we need a question and answer forum with the appropriate people in the room to get these questions behind us. And I think in the process of that, it's going to be a process of elimination. Something will float to the top that's going to work for everybody. But to stop this process right now, I think would be not a good idea.
Councilman Gambogi.
Two things, Mr. Mayor. The subject of cost has come up, and I'm a mathematician, but I'm not an accountant, so bear with me. The way I figured, if we get the money from the state and SIMPO, that comes out to over $38 million. And this project is projected to cost $36. So the cost figure is covered. Secondly, just so we don't go down another rabbit hole, I think if we're going to say to the staff, we need more information, we ought to identify what is it we need to make a decision. Otherwise, we'll debate this forever.
Councilman Montoya.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what Connie and actually what Ted just said too, in the sense that I think that we have to give staff the ability to move forward on this at this point. If we don't, then we will have wasted a lot of taxpayer dollars, which is a concern for me. The other thing I think about is, it's really, really very clear to me that this effluent line needs to be replaced. Kicking the can down the road on that would be malfeasance on every single one of our parts. And so I think at the very least, we need to have staff be able to come back to us. I don't have a strong opinion about extending the comment period or having another Q&A. I mean, I hate to say this to public works staff, but why not do both? But my sense is we can't stop this process now. It would be dereliction of our duty as council members up here, if for no other reason because of the effluent line. It's just, what I hesitate to ask Gwen right now is what happens when we can't put this effluent line back together? And Gwen, I don't even want to know the answer because it scares me. And so we have to give them a capacity to come back within a reasonable amount of time. I think delaying it somewhat is fine, but I don't think we can delay it inevitably. We have to be period certain about this because this is a decision we have to make. Thank you.
Well, I think we know what the consequences would be. We saw it in December when we have to shut down 89 to repair, and all that traffic is forced onto Willow Creek Road, and the 3 or 4 or 5 signal light changes you have to wait to try to get through Willow Lake and Willow Creek. That's what we're going to deal with, but even a longer period of time. So yeah, that infrastructure replacement needs to be done, and needs to be done pretty darn quickly. Now, what happens as far as the widening or not widening? Personally, I am a big supporter of widening that road. I mean, I've been on the SIMPO executive board for almost 5 years. I've looked at all the data that was provided through AECOM, and I know that eventually, and for people who say, well, I drive it right now and it's not bad. Well, that's not what we're making a decision about. We're trying to be proactive so we don't end up with a F-rated transit corridor, and then when it becomes an absolute disaster, we shut it down and then we fix it. I mean, that is really poor anticipation. We have an opportunity to be a little proactive here, and I think the data supports the fact that we have to have more capacity. It's not a matter of speed, it's capacity. Being able to handle more vehicles safely through that corridor, because we don't have other options. You think that going down Willow Creek Road is another option? We saw what would happen if that occurred. And we're not going to spend $1 trillion and create a new pathway through I can't even conceptualize where that would be. It would be some kind of another north-south roadway that's just beyond comprehension. So this has to be widened, and it has to be widened in a way that maintains the iconic Dell boulders. And I've looked at the cleaving that's done with these expanding chemicals. So no, we're not blasting like Wile E. Coyote with Acme Dynamite. For all of those of you who've been around long enough to remember Wile E. Coyote, it's not a blasting process. It's a cleaving process that I think a lot of people that even when we were working on Park Avenue and they had to break up that solid blue granite, there was a lot of people lived on Park Avenue and didn't even realize it was happening. So modern methods are much less impactful, but increasing the capacity in a safe manner, I believe, is absolutely necessary. Councilwoman Furworth?
I would like to see, to answer the city manager's question, I would like to see a plan of what we would do to fix the effluent line as soon as possible. And I know it may not be in the channel you'd like to put it in, ideally, but I just think we need a plan, because no matter what, it's going to be 2 to 3 years before we replace that effluent line, and we don't have 2 to 3 years. So I think the effluent line is job number one. And then I do think I'm constantly amazed with the expertise in this community. I am not an expert on some of the things that people have been talking about today, but I've been duly impressed with folks who are, so the critical review process I talk about that we do in corporate America, we bring in experts. And if we've got them in the community and they want to participate, several of them were standing at the microphone today, who had questions about pairwise, who had questions about traffic studies. We want to use, so I like your idea of an open house with, charts and questions, whatever, but I really want to take the citizens who don't just have an opinion, who really have expertise, and let them challenge. Let's get them to the point that they're either yes on, or it causes everyone here to say, you're right, I didn't think of that. But I don't think that takes more than a very short window that we have. We have that time right now if we can fix the effluent line. So.
Councilman Grady.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would echo Lois's comment as well. I think we can move forward on the effluent line. And I think that we need to analyze 2B in much more detail and see if that is in fact an interim step, recognizing that perhaps in 15 or 20 years, if I recall correctly, we're going to be in F in 2034, so maybe it's 10 to 15 years. Take a look at more of a widening process or do a variation on 2B. I think, as one speaker said, it's a policy direction that we have to give. And once we give that we want to have, our cake and eat it too. We want to preserve the iconic nature of this scenic roadway, and we want to improve safety. We want to improve capacity. How to do that, how to balance that. I think it's been totally focused on the traffic engineering side of things, and I think we need to rebalance that. And I would recommend that we as council members provide a list of the concerns that we have taken from today's meeting and the study session, and turn that into a list to the city manager to address in future action steps. I don't think there's any hurry in making a decision on 2B.
Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I think as a city, we've had a problem for many, many years, and that is that we postpone decisions of great importance. This has been repeated over and over again. We saw this with the funding of our PSPRS. We allowed that to balloon to $81 million before we finally did something about it. We saw this with public safety and how we hadn't built a new fire station or police station for over 30 years, and yet our population had nearly doubled in that amount of time. And I feel the same way about this project. If we postpone this project, it's going to be to the detriment of the city. I think the sooner we do this project, the better. I'm with the mayor. I feel we need to widen Highway 89. I think it's the right decision. I just think we need to go about it the right way. And I think that needs to be everyone's goal. Let's get behind this. Let's make it happen in a way that can work for everybody. Let's not put it off. Or we're going to be in the same boat we were in with PRS, where we're spending millions of dollars that we didn't need to spend, or having to raise taxes for public safety because we put it off for decades. And I think we're in the same situation. We just have this habit of putting things off. And you know that's true. And so I just want to go on record. I'm in favor of this. I think we need to widen it. I think we need to lengthen the public comment period maybe for 30 days. And after 30 days, then have a vote after we've collected that public comment information and move forward.
I agree. I think that's good. Is that going to be sufficient, City Manager?
Yep, so let me just make sure that I'm hearing what you're saying. So I'm hearing that we should extend the public comment period by 30 days, that will include some kind of a meeting or open house question and answer session, that when we come back, we'll answer the questions that we heard today. We'll also have some details about a plan to fix just the effluent line as soon as possible. I've heard a couple of other comments about trying to provide options and visuals, and we'll try to incorporate those as best we can. And then that would mean, so extending 30 days would mean the public comment period would end in October. And so we're probably talking about that last meeting in October for a decision.
Good. I think we're in agreement.
I do have a quick question, Mayor, sorry. We have the second public hearing scheduled, Gwen, for the 9th of September, correct? Does the council still want to conduct that public hearing on September 9th as has been advertised, or do we want to push that back to the end of the public comment period?
I think that should be pushed back as well. Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, you had a comment?
Could we potentially explore using that date, since everybody's schedules are so tough, as our question and answer forum?
That's part of a scheduled meeting.
Yeah, that's a council meeting
So that
date.
wouldn't.
It's a council meeting.
Oh, okay.
So, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item, what is it, 11D? 11C.
Approval of city contract number 2026-070 with Asphalt Paving and Supply, Inc. for construction of the Pleasant Street Pavement and Drainage Repairs Project.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tim Sherwood, Public Works Capital Program Manager. The project I have for you today is pavement repairs and drainage repairs on Pleasant Street. The project generally consists of roadway and utility trench improvements along Pleasant Street between Carlton and Aubrey. The primary scope of work is to repair excessive settling along utility trenches that has created uneven pavement and unsafe driving conditions. Work includes the removal and replacement of utility trench backfill material, damaged concrete, curb and gutter, asphalt pavement, and utility adjustments. The city advertised this project and received 3 bids on July 24th. AP&S is the apparent low bidder at $469,413.40. The engineer's estimate for the project was $429,245.50, or an increase of 8.5% over estimate by the contractor. The city has received written confirmation of the bid from Asphalt Paving and Supply, verification of their license, bonding, references, and performance on past municipal projects has been verified and determined satisfactory. The bid is deemed responsive and balanced. Award of the low bid in the amount of the $469,413.40 is being recommended by staff, and the city's standard contract for construction services will be used for this project. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Councilman Moore?
Thank you, Mayor. Tim, who did the work that resulted, who did the utility trenching work originally along Pleasant Street between Carlton and Audrey that's now settling?
That project was done in 2015 by a company, called Capital Improvements, and they are no longer in business.
I was going to wonder if we could hold them accountable or responsible if there's any recourse for the workmanship.
When we started seeing and I'll give you more background on it. When we started seeing the settling, it was about 7 years after the project was done, so about 5 years after the warranty period was expired. Doing our due diligence, we examined this, we cameraed the sewer line to make sure there was no issue with the sewer line. We verified that our water main was not leaking. We cleaned out and cameraed the CMP that crosses the street, and we found damage in the CMP that we believe has led to the failure, because when the CMP runs with water, the water gets out of the pipe, gets into the subgrade, and of course it's looking for the point of least resistance, which is the utility trenches. So how that culvert was damaged, it's hard to say. It's speculation on all of our parts to even try and determine that, but the culvert was damaged to the extent that water is not flowing through it contained. It does get out, and that's why we believe that the trenches have failed. And like I said, the utility trenches are the point of least resistance.
Okay, I was just hoping there was some recourse for the original contractor that did the work that's now failing.
Any more comments or questions? Any public comment?
No, Mayor.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve City Contract 2026-070.
Second.
A motion is second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, we'll move on to 11D.
Approval of City Contract Number 2026-063, a license agreement with WeCom Fiber, Inc.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, thank you. Randy Parham, City Engineer and Deputy Director of Public Works. Before I have the representative for WeCom come up and give their presentation, just wanted to give just a brief background. As you know, earlier this year, and actually going back to November of 2024, several companies had reached out to us interested in installing fiber networks in the city of Prescott. When we asked them the extent of their installation and the service area they wanted to provide, it was the entire city. So 2 companies coming in, installing close to 2 million linear feet of fiber optic in the community, which is a substantial investment by these companies. To quote the city manager, if he doesn't mind, introduction of additional service providers can enhance competition, resulting in improved pricing, quality, selection, and service for internet customers in Prescott. So staff believes this is a really positive thing for the community. I know many of you are familiar with the traditional providers, you know, your Lumen, your Sparklight, your Cox. So we've been very limited in providers in Northern Arizona. So this is very exciting for the city. It's very positive. But at the same time, we have an obligation to protect our infrastructure. So there's been kind of 2 parallel tracks going as legal and Gwen have been negotiating these license agreements with the companies. Engineering staff has just making sure that our standards were robust enough to protect our infrastructure. So we're talking our existing roadways, our existing water and sewer facilities. So a committee was formed, a technical committee made up of engineers, project managers, inspectors, pavement specialists, to meet on a weekly basis and determine how we were going to manage and permit and inspect these facilities as they come in to make sure our infrastructure is protected as they're installing this new infrastructure. So that was part of the ordinance that was passed earlier today, along with our micro trenching detail, which prior to this time we did not have. There's going to be 3 modes of installation in the city. One of the modes will just be utilizing existing APS power poles where they will run aerial to certain parts of the community. That'll be about 45% of the installs in the city. The other 2 methods will be directional boring, which we're very familiar with. We've seen that a lot with the existing telecoms in the community. And then the new method that we were mostly concerned about is micro trenching. We worked with the companies to develop this standard. We researched other communities. We reached out to the city of Mesa, the city of Flagstaff. Mr. Tobin and his team invited us to come observe some of the active microtrenching that was happening in the city of Flagstaff. So our streets operations crews were able to be on site, observe that, and some of the data we collected in those site visits, we actually incorporated that into modifying our details. to strike a good balance for the city's needs and the fiber's needs. So without further ado, I'll let the representatives from WECOM come up and give a presentation on their firm.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thanks for having us here today. I've waited 20 years to talk about this subject. Many years ago, you know, I got elected, went down to the legislature and fought for our schools and our hospitals and our rural non-connectivity that we don't have, whiteboards, medical attention that we can't get. Well, we're finally here through years of E-rate and other mechanisms that we've been using to get bits and pieces of this together. We searched and searched for a rural communications company, a neighbor, somebody who works here, somebody who raises their family here, somebody who hires employees here, and that's what we've got. WECOM has already got an office over on Sheldon Street. They already have people working in our community. They're willing to make a huge investment into bringing this to our area, our Prescott. So all of a sudden, this rural divide, which you've been hearing about for years, we're about to get out of it. We're about to have a company who's not afraid of competition come before us and actually bring connectivity that we've never had before. And you can check where we've been. We've been in the Wallapai tribe, we've been in Flagstaff, we're in Coconino, we're in Superior, we're in La Paz County. We're talking a firm who believes in building for rural first, not urban and out to rural, but coming here and building in our town. So I would like to introduce you Paul Fleming, who's the CEO of WECOM. It's a 60-year-old company out of Kingman, Arizona. And his staff has been working, and many of you have seen us on the go trying to put this thing together, and we're very proud of what our staff, and the staff here from Prescott's been incredible. Through the micro-trenching, all of the permitting, and all the work that they had to do, it's not an easy task. And so I want you to know we really appreciate them and the City Council's time that you've given us to come and continue to brief you. Mr. Fleming.
Thank you. Okay. I've got to remember, never go after Andy Tobin. It's never successful. So he steals all the good lines. But thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us. We really appreciate it. And I definitely want to thank your staff. As Randy mentioned, a number of staff members were able to come to Flagstaff and see our construction in action, to see how we do it, how do we repair it, what does the restoration look like, and so forth. And we really appreciate them taking time out of their busy day to be able to come up and spend a few minutes with us. Do I need to point it? There we go. All right. I have been told to try to keep this short, so 5 minutes or so. I will do my best to do that and save some time for questions and answers at the end. Quick history on us. Like Andy had mentioned, we were started in 1956 in Kingman, Arizona, so we're over 68 years old, and we've been serving throughout Arizona this entire time in the telecommunications field. Won't spend a lot of time on that slide. We'll go ahead and jump forward to some of the more exciting news. As you can see on the slide, our present plan involves building 26,000 households throughout Prescott. We're committed to building all of Prescott for everyone, reaching the majority of all homes and businesses, not just the neighborhoods where it might be more financially attractive. Our goal is to cover all of Prescott. We don't cherry pick, we invest within the community to serve everyone. It's something we've done for decades now. We take this, what we call an outside-in approach, which Andy was referring to, where we create a business plan to serve rural locations and work our way back into the more dense areas. And so we're very excited to be able to bring this here and say that we have $38 million that we're investing in Prescott. It's all private money, so we're not asking anything from the city. We're not asking any subsidy money, but $38 million of our private capital that we'll be investing into the city. The project timeline is noted on there. We right now have it set, hopefully, to start right at the very beginning of September, and goes approximately 18 months for us to be able to finish. That's a rough map you can see on the screen right now, which divvies up how we'll split up the project areas and how we will attack all of Prescott. All right, so as Andy mentioned, we are a local provider in Arizona. We've been focused on closing the digital divide for quite some time now. We're not headquartered out of state. We're not distracted by building in lots of areas throughout the entire United States. In fact, what we focus on is Arizona. When you pick up the phone and you call customer support to WeCom, you will get somebody in Arizona who picks up the phone to help you. We have staff that we've already hired in Prescott. We have an office in Prescott. And it's important to us to be a real contributor within the community, not just contribute through your local Boys and Girls Club, your Toys for Tots, sponsoring teams, sponsoring the rodeo or food drives, but that, or being a member of the chamber, but have a deeper integration of the community. When we opened this office, one of the things we built was a training facility. And on our top floor, we built a classroom. What we've done in other communities like and other community colleges such as Mojave Community College and Arizona Western was developed a training program to help get young adults into the fiber industry. It's a 6-week course that costs them nothing that we've helped fund, and it gives them an ability to come work for us directly. It helps bring high-paying jobs into the communities we go in. So we built this classroom, and we began discussions with Yavapai Community College, which is right next door to our office, to try to bring that type of activity in. We want to hire locally. We want to have and put back in the community by having local jobs. We'll be here for the next 100 years, and it matters how we invest in the community and what our relationship is with all of you. All right. Let's keep going. Some of you guys have seen us in other areas of Yavapai where we have multiple contracts and multiple project areas going on, all the way through Paulden, Cordes Lakes, Cottonwood, Dewey Humboldt, Prescott Valley. So we have a lot of projects, a lot of fiber being built throughout Yavapai County. Coming up soon, we'll be announcing additional areas on top of this with a goal to cover the entire county with fiber. So our goal is to close the digital divide entirely. And so that is anything that is considered or underserved is to build fiber to all of those facilities. And so you'll see additional announcements on top of this, but we are deeply rooted in Yavapai County, and we're very excited to continue this in the Prescott area. See, I'm going fast, Mayor, I promised. All right, so this is just a little bit of our pre-communication. And so part of the process of being a good steward within the community is to communicate and over-communicate. So when we're gonna set up construction, we need to be able to have mailers that go out ahead of time. So send a mailer to an entire area that we're gonna be doing construction in. Have somebody go out and do door tags saying, hey, we're gonna be in your area this week. This is what you can expect. Have a website dedicated to Prescott and different build areas so people can get online and they can understand what a right-of-way is, where the boundaries are, what we're building in, how do we do our restoration, and to make sure that every step of the construction process is properly communicated from a month in advance all the way to when we're done, and then afterwards to be able to continue the sales process and make sure we have happy customers. And this is just kind of a quick slide talking about the before, the during, and the after construction and what we try to do to make sure that we are over-communicating as much as possible. And feel free to interrupt me anytime. I'm trying to go through these quickly. I was a little disappointed everybody got up and left after the roads discussion. Like, I didn't realize that. I thought maybe I'd, but that's all right. So anyway, there's a number of other slides in the appendix. I'm going to skip those for now. And I just wanted to go ahead and go straight to the questions and answers as I know there's a limited time frame. So,
Councilman Gambogi.
Couple of questions. I think in your one slide, you said you were already in Prescott Valley?
In Prescott Valley?
Yeah.
So we have our license in Prescott Valley, and construction starts physically in Prescott Valley in about a week. So.
Okay, so you got Prescott Valley, Dewey, Paulden. So
Rim.
pretty much, except for Chino, pretty much wraps around Prescott, right?
Correct.
Now, Terry Sapio lives in a place called Yavapai Hills, where they live in caves and they have no cell phone service. So could you talk a little bit about the speed of what you're offering compared to what we have now?
Yeah. I don't know if we have a cave solution, but I'm going to definitely look directly into that. So we offer a range of connectivity options. So we do have what we call our low cost option or our beginner plan, which is around your 500 megs. So I would like to define or clarify one thing. Everything we do is symmetrical. So that means that your download speed is the same as your upload speed, as opposed to some providers who will have a faster download and a lower upload. As technology continues to evolve, and whether it's going to be telehealth, education, your two-way videos, all your video conference calls, which I know everyone's really excited about nowadays, all the way to the implement of additional artificial intelligence and so forth, that symmetrical speed becomes extremely important. Your low latency, your controlled jitter, it all matters. And so everything we do is symmetrical. So we have a low cost option, which is 500 megs down, 500 megs up. We go to a gig, which is 1,000 by 1,000, 3 gigs and 5 gigs and so forth. The network is actually built to be able to expand up to 50 gigs. So we could go up to somebody's household and offer them 50,000 megs down, 50,000 megs up, or 50 gigs. So, but our initial offerings are 500, 1 gig, 3 gig, and 5 gig in the city of Prescott. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
It doesn't answer the cave part very well, but I'll do my best. So,
Well, that's maybe you can start with him.
Councilman Montoya.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm curious. So obviously today is a big step in your process of coming to Prescott. When do you envision being able to do the first connections for people in Prescott?
So we've been very blessed in having a great relationship with the Public Works and Engineering Department. So we've been able to pre-review a lot of our permits. And so we should be able to get permits back very rapidly and expect to start construction extremely soon. We should have people online in less than 3 months. So
Very cool. Thank you.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. I love the fact that you're hiring locally. What's your estimate of how many employees ongoing you're going to hire, and what's the salary range we're talking about on an hourly basis?
initially, we're I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
That's fine.
Initially, right now, we're between 40 and 50 FTEs or full-time employees we expect to hire at this office. And salaries are between, depending on the position, around $42,000 to a little over $100,000 a year.
Nice. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I'm into the tech stuff myself, but the thing that really impressed me, and when Terry Sapio gets in his fancy little sports car, he won't be driving over all those cuts in our concrete that have sunken, just like we had to deal with right now up on Pleasant Street. The micro trenching is an amazing new technology that's going to save us all from that. But I did look into that a little bit, and I spoke to you about how do you cross the intersections, and you told me something very interesting. I think Terry's going to love this, that you have some kind of an apparatus that shoots a bullet underneath that so that you don't have to trench and then have us, have a sunken trench eventually in 7 years.
So just to clarify, when we're crossing an intersection, a lot of times we will bore underneath an intersection. We were talking about the entry across a yard, and not to ruin somebody's yard. And yes, and so there's a bullet method to be able to go to their household without having to tear up their entire yard. There are a lot of different construction methods to get through your yard and make sure we don't tear up whatever landscaping they have. But in our particular discussion, that's correct, yes.
Well, see, Terry, I'm protecting your sports car.
I drive a truck, so I don't.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. I like to dive into the details of contracts. And so as I was looking at the one we're talking about now and the one coming up in a couple of minutes, they were virtually identical with one exception, which was fees, 5.1.1. And you were outlining some fees to use our right-of-ways, which are our public's right-of-ways, and so I appreciate that. Could you explain the next section down in 5.3? What does it mean, private line services and exempt from the fees at 51%? It just sounds really legalese, and I'm trying to understand what's happening.
So I don't have the contract memorized.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I will tell you, you are correct. 5.1.1 is actually additional in our contract and not in the upcoming contract. When we looked through this and we went through with our legal team, we felt the wording had a lot of ambiguity in it. It wasn't defined. So if you start off the very beginning under under the definitions section, you have what's called a network infrastructure service under the definitions, and that's defined partially as fiber to the home. So that's what we would be providing. But when you get down to section 5, which is the fees section, you'll notice network infrastructure services is never mentioned. You have different things, telecommunications corporation, private line services, interstate versus interstate, and different scenarios in which fees could or cannot be applied. And as we continue to dig through this, we felt that it wasn't clear how the city would be able to apply fees to us and for us to be able to pay for the usage of those right-of-ways. So we left those in there. So it's not that we took out the additional optionality, but we added in 5.1.1. So there was a clear method that said if we use X number of feet underground, X number of feet aerial, we pay you that fee annually. In our opinion, because of the type of service that we provide, the additional language had, I can't speak for what other providers do or don't serve, but had a lot of loopholes for what we would be doing and a lot of mechanisms in which they would not become applicable, and then we'd be paying no fees. And we don't consider that to be a good partnership. And so when we met with the city attorney and so forth, we added that additional language in.
And I appreciate you contributing to our right-of-ways very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? I think this is really going to bring us well into the 21st century.
I did want to clarify one thing. We're not building any towers. There's been a couple of people question, are you we don't want to, we're not putting up a single solitary tower.
Right.
So I promise.
I'm sure that'll be of concern to a certain amount of underinformed residents. Any other questions or concerns? No? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve city contract number 2026-063.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Do we have any public comment before we vote?
We do not, Mayor.
No. Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. You had me worried for a second. I'm like, oh man.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Even Terry didn't have any comments, huh? Okay. Well, thank you very much, and welcome to Prescott, and we look forward to your service and your long-term support for this system and for the benefits in the community at large. Thanks. Okay, we'll move to item 11E.
Approval of city contract number 2026-061, a license agreement with Vexus Fiber LLC doing business as MetroNet.
All right, we all love competition, right? Free market. So here's another company coming up to tell us about their company and their plans for the city of Prescott. So we'll invite them up now.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff. Thank you for your time today. We're MetroNet, and we're thrilled to be here. My name is Jill Cordes, and I am the Vice President of New Market Development. Let me tell you a little bit about MetroNet. We started our conversation with Prescott last November, as Randy said, and we are excited to be here today. We are the nation's fastest growing fiber to the home provider, and we are set to invest over $18 million into the city of Prescott, all of private funding. We also are looking at about 15,000 passes initially in the city of Prescott. Now, where that number might be different than the presentation before us is we look at private property separate, and we have a separate team that will go in and build. Those are going to be your long-term team in the community. They're going to be here to build with you and grow with you after the initial city build is done or in conjunction with the city build. So I always like to recognize those teams and that number and how that might be a question in today's presentation. We also would be looking at the city build to take right around that 18 months. I don't like to gamble, so I always put in that buffer of 18 to 36 months because, as we know, anything can happen at this time. We also have our construction, collateral, and communications. We found that it's beneficial to have a multi-step process where first we're going to send out the letter, and this letter is going to arrive 30 to 15 days before any work begins, right? And in this letter, they're going to have frequently asked questions. They're going to have a website as well as an 800 number to call. This number is staffed out of our Evansville corporate location. So this letter, if they open it, they are going to find all the information they need to sleep easy. Then we are going to, sorry, this mic's a little. Then 10 to 7 days, we're going to send out this postcard, right? This postcard is going to say construction's underway. And again, it's going to have reference to the website as well as the 800 number. When they go to that website, they're going to be able to watch videos and have all the information they need. Plus, they'll be able to open a ticket. They can open a ticket to ask us what's happening. They can open a ticket to let us know that, hey, I have a dog fence. I have a sprinkler system. What do? I don't want you to hit it. So we will reach out to them and inform them, give them the flags, give them the material that they need, again, to be prepared for this construction. Then finally, we know that once the markers go on the ground, it really gets to be a real situation for the residents. And we want them to feel comfortable again. So we will put these in the right-of-way at every home. The ones that are left in the right-of-way, we will swing by and pick them up as we are working in that area. So no debris will be left behind. We found that these are a little bit more effective than door hangers. We've tried and done everything over the years, and these are our home run. You know, sometimes the door hangers fly off or that type of thing. So these are popular. And then finally, like I said, we have the construction hub open 24 hours every day of the week. And then the phone number as well, the 866-292-5382. Construction, right? This is where we get to that. So we have the initial build, which is just that. We are always here to grow and change and develop new partnerships and build where the city might need us, right? You have new businesses coming in. You have new developments being developed. That special projects team will be here, like I said, long-term after our initial build is done. We've already started our relationship with the town, so we will work closely with them and continue that on any day-to-day activities or materials that would be needed. We also have a city relations team. This team is dedicated to take care of the customer resident concerns of Prescott. You're going to have the number, the city will be introduced to this person. This is going to be helpful in any education that might need to happen, any community events that we might need to have to help with the education. Her name's Robin, and she's really going to be a key factor in this partnership long term. We also have our team that here, Jeff and the construction team, they're going to keep the city well informed. They're going to let them know where we're at. They're going to let the fire department, the police department, everybody who wants to know where MetroNet is on a day-to-day basis, they're going to keep them informed for us. And then, like I said, we have city relations along with OSP, Jeff and the team. They're going to work every month to review with the city how many tickets were open, right? What those tickets were for, and overall comments, questions, or concerns will also be addressed in those monthly meetings. So that's what I have for you all today. What questions do you got for myself or the team here?
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. So you've referred to Evansville. I'm assuming that's Indiana?
Yes, Evansville, Indiana is our headquarters. We were headquartered there since 2005 at the start of MetroNet.
And our city person, Robin, is she going to be in Evansville?
No, she actually covers the Southwest, so her territory is Colorado and then Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. And we will also have, or we currently have an office in Prescott Valley that will be housing our local teams. So we're going to have the field operations, we will have our business sales teams, we will have a team dedicated to government education and enterprise, so they're with you as your team grows or your city grows, and special projects will also be housed there.
So are you planning on hiring local folks?
Yep, these folks are all going to be made up of the local people, right? We want the people who know the city, the community, and the residents that they're going to serve.
And how many jobs are you talking about adding into the Quad Cities?
Right now, I would probably say right around that 30 to 40 mark when we're all looking at the different positions for full time.
Okay. And then my last question comes down to the contract. As I was looking, again, comparing the contract, I did not see that we're getting any ongoing income as a city for using of our right-of-ways, and I'm trying to understand why, or why not, I should say.
Yes, I'll have Joan step up. But one thing, too, is we offer both internet and phone services. So we do fall under the telecommunications agreement form. And I'll have Joan come up and answer that a little bit more in depth for you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, first, Andy Tobin. Come full circle. I'm a lawyer who practices in the telecom world, and Commissioner Tobin was someone I would just work so hard to try and get a meeting with on behalf of my clients, and he was always so busy, and he was protecting Arizona ratepayers. He was doing great work at the commission, but he's here for fiber, and it's just like he was busy protecting, electric companies, not protecting, they're protecting ratepayers and working for electric companies and sewer companies and water companies. But at the Arizona Corporation Commission, telecom's like 5% of what they're interested in. It's a tiny amount. So to try and get a meeting with Commissioner Tobin on telecom it was pretty heroic. And I did it regularly, a couple times a year. And to see him here on behalf of a fiber company, I'm just going, go. That's wonderful. So I'm glad you're here, Commissioner Tobin. Yeah, that's right, you did. Yeah. No, it was that was a miraculous thing. It was an emergency rulemaking that did it for schools. Changed rules, got a lot of money, millions, $100 million for the $100 million, and then turned it off again, turned it on, turned it off. Yeah, so, but he never did fiber. He was not doing, except for that, that's true. Telecom's a unique kind of entity, and at the federal level, there's a Telecom Act. And I say telecom, MetroNet's been offering telecom to its customers since it started. And it has on it, if you go to its website, let us provide you with telecom service. And that's been a standard for business and residential offering that they've had. There are other fiber providers, and if you go to their website, they're not going to have telecom as an offering. And there's a state statute that defines what a city can and can't do with respect to a telecommunication services license. And one of the things is you can't charge to use the right-of-way. You can charge for all the costs associated with in permits and in people investigating what the permits are happening, what's happening with streets, pavement restoration. But actually to use the right-of-way, can't charge. It's not different than the federal Internet Freedom Act, which prohibits a municipality from charging for someone's internet. I mean, you can tax now, you have a transaction privilege tax that applies to someone's phone bill, but there's not a similar bill that applies to their internet. So that's the way our City of Phoenix, MetroNet City of Phoenix license, Glendale, Peoria, Prescott Valley, the licenses they have, it's a telecommunications license. Now, this is just a 5-year license, can renew. The city may change, the state may change its statute because it desperately needs to get caught up on fiber. There's no fiber license statute. There's a telecommunication services license, there's video services license, there's microcells, and I think you've dealt with those. And I sense that you guys are pro-competition, which I love, because as I have Verizon for my cell phone provider. I know Jill has T-Mobile. I don't know who you all have, but having competition amongst carriers brings the prices down and improves the service quality. So The reason there's no, sorry, such a long answer, Councilwoman. There's no fee because it's a telecommunications license. Under state statute, you can't charge a right-of-way fee for a telecommunications license. If you go to the MetroNet website, you'll see the telecommunications product they sell have thousands of telecommunications customers. And until that state statute changes, that's the way the statute. In fact, the front page of the license cites this is a license issued under the telecommunications licensing statute.
How does this complement or compete with the WECOM product?
Yeah, so we also are a symmetrical product. We range in speeds from 250 meg up to 5 gig for our residents. And for the businesses, we'll start at the 300 meg and go up to 10 gig. Now, I mentioned that enterprise team earlier. That's government, education, medical, and enterprise that will focus on developing those. We have the capability to go up to 100 gig to serve them. So we are here to grow and serve the residents with the speeds that they need.
So in essence, this is a competing service.
It is a competing service.
Who will be installing fiber optic cable in the city's right of way and then directing that into the individual businesses and homes?
Correct, yes.
How do you anticipate dealing with some of the subsurface fractured granite and other highly dense ground that you would need to be able to provide that to a home? We've got places up in Prescott Heights that we can't even get sewer lines into those homes because it's so difficult. Now, are they going to be excluded from your service, or how will that work?
So I brought the OSP team here, Jeff, and he is actually the one I'd feel more comfortable answering, so you get the full answer.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Jennings. I'm a senior director of construction over in Arizona. Not unlike how we, the previous company has described what they're going to do with their construction, we're going to utilize the same methodology. We really haven't put too much emphasis on the micro trenching. We've seen mixed opinions and mixed results when it comes to that method. It's something that we're definitely going to consider here in Prescott Valley. The main goal is to do the work safely with, making sure that we take care of the residents here in your city. We have hired staff here. We're already working in a neighboring, several neighboring cities. And, we're going to definitely follow, the same kind of construction standards other companies.
Well, we've got subsurface that's way more difficult than Prescott Valley, I'll tell you that.
And of course, we're going to adapt to the change in environment as needed to make sure that
So what other cities have been using your service in Arizona?
In Arizona, we're currently in the Phoenix, Glendale, Casa Grande, Peoria, Prescott Valley, rather, right down the street. Just a little bit of my background. This is the 5th state that I've worked just with MetroNet. So I've been with this company for quite some time, and we follow the same processes in different areas. And so a lot of experience with this industry, to say the least.
And how long have those other cities been using MetroNet?
Years, probably. When's the first time MetroNet started? 2005. So since 2000.
Phoenix or
Glendale
or
no, Phoenix we started, we broke ground this year. It was January, I think January timeframe we broke ground in the Glendale market. We don't have, we're still working to get those services up and operational for those areas. There's a lot of permitting, there's a lot that goes into getting the services launched in these areas. So we're looking at October getting the first customers up and operational in the Phoenix and Glendale cities.
What kind of corporate structure do you have? Are you a public company?
I'll let turns back over here.
Yes, recently in July we entered a joint venture with KKR and T-Mobile. So right now it's all brand new to us, and we are just super excited about what the future holds for our residents and customers in the communities we serve.
So is that private equity?
KKR is private equity, yes.
All right. Councilman Gambogi?
Kind of a technical question. I just did a speed test on the internet here, and I think I got 118
megabits.
Megabits. So above mega is giga, huh?
Yes.
And above giga is what?
Tera.
Tera. And you have your highest speed is 100 gigabytes.
Yes, we reserve that for, special enterprise, government, education, medical customers. We don't give that out every day.
But at home, you would have what speed?
So at home,
start with 200 what?
200 megabits over 200. So your upload and download mirror or match each other.
Mm-hmm.
Up to 5 gig over 5 gig. And so basically the technology we're putting in today is going to future-proof your community for decades, because all we need to do is basically equipment change out to build and boost that speed as the needs require. I always tell this story. When I started in this business back in 2008, my Cadillac speed at that time was 25 megabits over 25, and we were selling that for about $200 a residence door.
A month?
A month.
So what would you have at home? You said 5 gig or?
No, at home, our most common speed that families take is right around that 1 gig to 2 gigs. Our gamers, our college students, they love that 2 gig. I don't know how they justify needing it, but they want it. Gaming, yes, that's the college student.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
How do you expand your network by resident? If you have residents says, I don't want it here, and then they sell the house and the new person says, yeah, I do want it here. So how does that work?
Yeah, so actually that's a good question. Recently, I relocated from Minnesota to Colorado, right? Wanted that dream move. And my house had fiber optics available. And a similar house across the city that was the same square footage, had nicer outdoor amenities. They did not have fiber. My house sold faster and for full rate over that other house because I had fiber optics available. They wanted to work from home. Being a remote worker was very important to this family. And so what we were able to do was I canceled my service and they called in and put it in their name and switched out the equipment and did that all in the same day with our field operations team.
So what about the other house that now wants it?
It's still for sale. So if you want to relocate to Minnesota, there's a house with no fiber available.
But do they have to sign a separate contract?
There's no contracts.
So you'll just put it in, they call up and say, put it in.
You put it in. Yep, that's what we do. And we have a very fast installation turnaround time. These guys and gals are going to be made up of your community too. So to your question earlier, they're going to have that street knowledge, right, of where the blue granite is and where the troublesome areas are. They're going to work with Gwen and Randy on the daily to make sure if they have an area of question, they're using the local knowledge and resources that the city has to offer.
Very good. Councilman Gambogi, another question?
Yeah, I forgot. Does that require a new router and modem when you go to something like 1 gig?
Yes, and so our packages include the router because we don't want households to have to maneuver through and try to understand what they need and what they don't need, because ultimately they just want the 1 gig over 1 gig internet to work and stream their shows, work from home, and all that other, essential lifestyle.
Councilwoman Furworth.
So one more tech question related to your offering. So you said you're a telecommunications firm, you got T-Mobile. How is this different in terms of, other than internet speed and that kind of stuff? Is there voice going on here, or what's going on?
Yeah, so we offer phone services. So we really specialize in that small, medium business. It's a great way to add competition to the market, right? So they now have a new option. They have one phone number to call, right? So if they want to sign up, they have their bills, they can reach out to Metronet. The other thing is when we get into the different hosted phone products, it feels like the telecommunications, the technology is always pointing fingers. No, it's not our phone service, it's your internet. It's your internet, it's, that type of game. So this reduces the finger pointing and creates more productivity. One bill, one phone call, one face to yell at is what we like to say.
I wanted to take just a quick minute and go back and touch a little bit on Mr. Gambogi and Mayor Good's question on architecture. The type of architecture that we build is a ring architecture, and off of that ring, we build what's called LCPs. You kind of got an indication of that when she went through the slide. I don't know if you recall the green area. LCP is nothing but a term that's been around for many, many years. It's local convergent point. That's what it represents. Really has no meaning as far as technology. It just represents a grouping of residential customers or potential customers that we would pass. And those areas typically run between 300 to 500 on average homes that would be passed and would be serviced out of that, what we call an LCP. Now, as we do our construction, unlike some others, we turn our services up as we go, as we build the LCPs, we turn those up, and in turn, we're able to go back and start marketing into the residents in those locations. And one other thing I wanted to mention, just as a cliff note, that everything we place into the city is all grade level. We don't add to your pedestal farms if you have them already. So our boxes that go in the back side of the house or on the front side of the house, that would be the point where you would bring a drop to feed that service into the home. We call that, we look at a box, it's about 8 inches by 8 inches in size, and it sits flush grade. It can be driven over by lawnmowers. It's a pretty heavy duty unit, so there's no harm there. And that's usually pretty appealing to a lot of the residents because they're not seeing another pedestal above ground, if you will. So does that help on the question on?
If you'd like.
Yeah, this is the LCP representation. Well, you see it right there.
No, the pedestals.
Okay, yeah.
So do you anticipate expanding that green coverage area?
Yeah, keep in mind that green coverage area would represent roughly 300 to 500 homes. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a bunch of those green coverage areas. Okay. And the characters that you see before it represents Arizona, Prescott. This one would say AZPV, and then you would have a number that would represent that actual subdivision, if you will.
So you'll do installations by these green areas?
By those LCP areas, yes. As we build them, we turn them up.
So I imagine you probably have experience with extreme cold and extreme heat.
Yes.
And everything in between.
Everything in between.
And monsoons and
tornadoes in the Midwest. Yeah. Hurricanes in Florida. Yeah, we've had some experience with them.
Oh, that should cover it, I think. Any more questions or comments? Any public comment?
No, Mayor.
Do you have any last minute thoughts? And then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve City Contract 2026-061.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 7-0.
Congratulations and
Thank you.
welcome to Prescott.
Oh, we are excited, so thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Okay, we're down to our last item, 11F.
Adoption of resolution number 2025-1942, approving a request from the Mountain Club to include properties within city limits into a domestic water improvement district.
Good evening. I'm Steve Wolfers, the Utilities Manager. We are bringing forward a letter that was written by the folks at Mountain Club to include 16 properties within their DWID that sit actually within city limits. These are resident or areas that are fed by the Mountain Club property or the Mountain Club infrastructure, but sit in the city. And for them to complete their DWID, then they need the city council's approval to bring these 16 properties in. And I've put together just a couple maps to show you what we're talking
For
about.
those who are interested, that's a domestic water improvement district.
My apologies. And I think Mountain Club is here as well to this. Yes, very, very important stuff. But I've put together a couple slides just to kind of give you an idea of where these properties are and their location with utilities. One of the questions that we were asked when we went out to do public outreach was, can we extend city water mains to these properties so that they can be on city water, not Mountain Club water? Well, we went through and plotted all these. There's 16 properties. Some of them are smaller than this room, actually smaller than, it's about 1/100th of a acre. So they're quite very small. So to start with, let me find my thing. The first property here and the property down here are two of the properties. They're denoted there by the pin. As you can see, they're close to our sewer lines, but there's really no water within those areas. Let me see, there we go. So the nearest water for these folks are over here along, across the couple lots to get up there. And of course, as you're aware, Mountain Club is a rocky area. It would estimate to be about $500 per linear foot to expand these lines. And of course, with policy, they'd also have to be on sewer. And so this is one set that are falling into that category. Let's see if I can get this to go. Here's four others, I'm sorry. As you can see, they're connected to, they're just outside or partially inside. Some of these actually are split, like this one here is actually split between the city and the county. So these are issues that need to be resolved for their DWID. And again, the water doesn't really, I'm trying to get it to work. There we go. The water line stops here. And so these two properties don't necessarily qualify for water because it's not fully fronting. This one, and I don't know what, the one furthest north on this map is not in contact with the water. And the one further down has a very small portion of the, I don't know if it's me or, there we go. I don't know, I'm technologically. I know, everything's tired. The point is that these don't really have any connection to our water system. And so the next one also, well, there's supposed to be a third one, but I'm not seeing it. This thing may be dead. Oh, there we go. So this is a grouping of actually 7 or 8 properties. Some of them are actually the roadway, and this little slice right here. And then the other 5 are denoted with pins. So as you can see, we have nothing there, no infrastructure whatsoever. So in answering the question that the citizens had, we really don't have the ability to extend these pipelines to these folks. And certainly we already talked about one that was on Aspen Drive several months ago where the city council found it not viable economically to attach that citizen to our system. So what we're asking for, and Joe, I don't know if you have the letter or if it's in the packet.
Yes, it's in the packet.
Okay. So we're asking for approval of that letter to include these 16 properties within the domestic water investment district, improvement district, whichever you like to choose for your I.
That's a little bit of a Freudian slip.
Yeah, you know, improvement, whatever issues. But this is what we're asking you for your approval tonight.
Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a question because we've gotten a couple of these 16 residents have reached out to us begging us to keep them on city water rates versus moving them to the county. So you've proven that we don't have the infrastructure to service them. A domestic water improvement district, who does the billing for this whole thing?
Well, right now we are, but the Water Improvement District will do the billing.
That's what I assumed. Once it became a DWID, they do their own billing. They come off of the city of Prescott.
And they'd also do their own rates and the whole thing.
Okay,
They
so the
become their own
question of
entity.
Yeah, so the question is, we can't provide them water. We won't be doing the billing, and the question that they've been asking council really should be directed to the DWID. And I have a feeling the answer is going to be no, because they have to pay for all of this infrastructure improvement.
That's correct. We will bill from the master meters. There's 5 master meters in this community, and that's where the city would bill from. Whatever the DWID wants to bill from, that's their business.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a message to the crowd that we have here and the public listening. This has been a long time coming, and here we have a member, and Gloria I don't see Gloria here today, but Kevin's been working on this. I know, Eric, you mentioned earlier a subject about kicking the can down the road. This is the poster child for that. So this is something that we need to do. This is first steps. They've worked really, really hard to get the neighborhood to buy in. They can't go any longer. It's a matter of loss of water, the infrastructure. So I'm behind all this, and I think we need to go. And it is unfortunate we can't be able to hook them all up, but I have a feeling that's the reason when they developed, this is how that happened. So moving forward, this is a first really big step to getting this thing solved. So I'm very encouraged that we were able to do that. Thanks for all your hard work, Kevin and Gloria, wherever she is. Thank you.
She's in the back.
Can I make a comment? My list shows 17 properties.
Yeah, please come up to the microphone.
Yeah, there's thousands of people online waiting to hear your comments.
Hi, Gloria McConnell, president of the Mountain Club. My list shows 17 properties. And to your point, a couple of them are tiny, but I don't know if it's critical you have the right number. And thank you very much for your attention to this matter, because we can't move forward to form the DWID without the cities. This is required by Arizona statute. So if you have any questions about anything. Also, there are 4 master meters, not 5, and unless there's a mystery one that we don't know about. And so that's all. Thank you very much. Anything? All right.
Just to amend, as Gloria said, there's 17 properties. I said 16. There's actually 16 owners and 17 properties. So that's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Details.
Yeah, details.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Well, I've been kind of involved in negotiating with the residents and the people managing their HOA down there. And boy, this is something that's so long overdue. when we finally had a chance to look at how much water was being delivered and how much was actually being paid for, it became crystal clear that a water improvement district was sorely, sorely needed here, not only for the city, but for the residents and the long-term viability of those residential owners. So I'm just terrifically pleased to see this come to this point. Do we have any public comment here?
We do not, Mayor.
Well, then I'm
Mayor,
excited to be able to, what?
I was just going to ask to make a motion if you're ready to take it.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a, please make a motion there, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to adopt resolution number 2025-1942.
Second.
It was like 4 seconds in a row. Who did it first?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Passes 7-0.
So congratulations, and I'm just so pleased to see this finally being created. It's going to be best for everyone down there and the city as well. So that does conclude our agenda today. City Clerk, right?
It does indeed.
So here is a quote from one of my favorite presidents, Ronald Reagan. We must reject the idea that every time a law is broken, society is guilty rather than the lawbreaker. It's time to restore the American precept that each individual is accountable for his own actions. So with that said, I'll close with God bless the United States, God bless Arizona, and God bless Prescott. This meeting is adjourned.